Hello, my loves. Hello, hello, hello. My name is Dustina. This is Spiritually Boujee Astrology, and we're going to take a deeper look at the full moon in Capricorn. Now, when it comes to Capricorn, we have to pay attention to a couple of different things right now. Not just what's going on in the full moon, but also what's going on with the ruler of Capricorn, which is Saturn. Immediately following this full moon, Saturn is going to go retrograde. And the thing about Saturn and its placement right now is he is a planet that is in fall. He's in an area of the sky where he does not excel, that he does not do well. And that can be a problem whenever it comes to the elements of what Capricorn can represent and the way that we're seeing certain things in the world right now. Saturn is rules, Saturn is law, Saturn is government, boundaries. Whenever it comes to individuals, Saturn can be our elders. Saturn can be a sense of judgment or responsibility. But given the element as to where Saturn is in the sky, when it comes to the vibration around this full moon, judgment can be harsh. Responsibility can feel judged, it can feel pushed and not well thought out. And in a lot of ways, we have seen that manifest in society this year, given all the elements around Saturn and him changing signs. There's a little judgment. There have been harsh reactions. There have been harsh actions that have come through. And the ways that it's starting to manifest is going to start to really empower and shape a new framework in society. And one of the things that I've said for quite some time is the second half of 2025, which we are now really officially in, but basically I've said everything since Venus retrograde ended has been the second half, even though that was still second quarter, is a new normal. For us to get into the new normal, though, there has to be harsh actions, reactions, judgments, and cutoffs to make that happen. When it comes to the vibration of this week, there can be harsh judgments, cutoffs, new realities, reality checks that don't necessarily go well. There can be large shifts in reality in regards to our behavior and whether we decide we're going to continue supporting someone or not, whether we are going to continue some version of care or not. And there's a lot of things that we have started over the course of the last few months that either we are coming to kind of a stopping point by choice or by reaction. Now, that's going to sound a little hinky at first. But when you start doing so much new in your life, we've all been in a relationship or a friendship that because there has been so much change, somebody does not necessarily agree or like what is going on. And they can get a little uneasy, a little at edge. And as we have been dealing with Saturn and Neptune stationing, they're joined hip to hip right now. So we got to be aware of both. Neptune just went retrograde. Saturn is about to go retrograde. There can be a very timely turn of reaction, letting us know that we've either gone too far or it's going to jolt the vibration, jolt the energy, shockwave. And it's going to tell us that some of the people that we've surrounded ourselves, they no longer support the action, the reaction, the growth, the changes that have occurred. And it's going to force, again, a jolt to maneuver our focus. When it comes to elements of Saturn, the jolt can be against people in positions of power. The jolt can be with or around our elders. Now, Saturn can have to do with age and responsibility, and a lot of times that immediately equates to elders. that elders are in a rough situation. They're having things going on, things that are impacting their immune system, their body, their bones, their legs, their back, things that, again, can jolt us because we weren't prepared for that situation. And because we have this shock wave, again, it can kind of halter us a little bit, shift our dynamic and shift our focus, even if it's just temporarily. The thing about Saturn and Neptune right now going into Aries, as I said it for a while now, they're doing a pinky toe dip into this area. We're coming to a stopping point in this full moon that it's time to reassess. It's time to rethink. It's time to kind of go back through what we've already done, judge what works, figure out what doesn't, and understand that some of the harsh judgments that we go through these first 2 weeks of July. So when Neptune was turning retrograde last week, when Uranus and Venus changed signs last week, and now Saturn turning retrograde with this full moon. The arrival of new details, new dynamics, new information can also impact where we're going to have to make sudden, necessary, strategic rethinking, reshaping, revitalizing, re-strategizing, restructuring in the upcoming Mercury retrograde. The jolt to the system is what makes us reevaluate. And that can be a big part of what we deal with in this vibration, in this energy. It doesn't have to be directly on the day of the full moon for that to be a part of the equation for you. There is a human effect to everything. The moon went into Capricorn late on Tuesday evening going into Wednesday. The moon will remain in Capricorn until we get into parts of Friday. But even whenever we get through the weekend, the moon will still be in a Saturnian sign while Saturn is turning retrograde. And there can be a lot of news that follows, a lot of things that come to light and get spoken that has lasting effects. There will be certain people that tell you, I can't continue with you. I can't move forward with you. I can't support this endeavor. I can't support this energy. I can't support you. Or vice versa. You start getting told, I can't hang out with you no more. I don't want to see you no more. I don't think this is working anymore. I can't pay for this for you anymore. And it's going to jolt a reality check in regards to responsibility, the action and the reaction. For some people, whenever you get told that you're not going to have support anymore, it will feel like judgment. And given again, Saturn is in the sign of Aries, it can be very harsh judgment. It's not the soft, healing version of Saturn and Pisces that we've had the last few years. No. It can be a much more harsh energy, a methodic energy, a Martian energy. And for some people, the judgment can't even have elements of force in the days around. So be aware of that. There are going to be unexpected things that have already been a part of the springtime that are really starting to come more into focus, and where we can no longer have certain support could be a long time coming, months in the making. But remember, whenever we go into new seasons, and again, we're going into a new normal, we're becoming accustomed to a new normal, we're working through a new normal. People come into our life for a reason or a season. And after this full moon, as we continue through the rest of 2025, we're going to see which people are no longer a part of the long-term picture. Their season is over. the reason they came into your life has been fulfilled. And that is going to put us into a situation where we're going to have to gain new understanding and shore up, solidify what we're still working on without that support. And it is going to make a lot of people have to go backwards in certain ways. It's going to make a lot of people have to rethink, reframe, redo, re-strategize, redo a couple things, put different things into place. And it's going to almost be frantic for some people. I say almost, not necessarily completely. But we can only go so far. We can only grow so much. And then we have to go back, oversee, double check. And that's why we have planets go retrograde. Now, whenever I was looking at the condition of most of the signs' chart rulers, we have 12 zodiac signs, obviously, but 3 of those zodiac signs have additional rulers. They have dual chart rulers. Scorpio has 2, Aquarius has 2, Pisces has 2. So put that part into perspective when I say this next part. Half of the zodiac signs either have their chart ruler in what's known as a cadent house or a succedent house. Now, a succedent house is going to be your 2nd, your 5th, your 8th, and your 11th. It is the usage of the things. It is the furthering of something based off of what happened in the angular house, which is the 1st, the 4th, the 7th, and the 10th. We're trying to get a better perspective of being useful, making use of something, getting a better understanding of how we do certain things, how we express certain things, and how we are taking things forward. Half of the chart rulers are currently in a place of understanding usefulness. And I'm just putting that in very layman's terms. That would be that succedent house. But the cadent house is a little bit different. And it's not always as impactful per se. It depends on how things are unfolding. Now, the cadent houses are our 3rd, our 6th, our 9th, and our 12th. The 3rd and the 9th are about learning and understanding. They're travel houses, they're exploration houses, they're education houses, they're communication houses, learning through experience houses. We need to learn. We need to understand. But the 6th and the 12th, that's not necessarily learning and understanding. The 6th house can be a house of misfortune. The 12th house can be a house of death, endings, betrayal, closure, leaving something behind. If we have something negatively impacting people's health, most specifically people that are elders, they're the authority figure, but we can still have health things. If we have things that are impacting people's health, those are going to, again, force us to have to make immediate adaptive changes whenever it comes to not the forecast, the treatments. We'll go with treatments. That's not the word I was looking for, but I'm going to go with treatments. It depends on like the level of treatments and medication that are necessary. If we are dealing with the 12th house, there can literally be things that speak to coming to an ending, closing something out, whether by force or by choice. Either way, the judgment can be harsh given the Saturnian condition during a Saturn-ruled full moon. Not every sign is going to feel this in a large endeavor. A lot of people are going to be in a position where they either have to start letting things go, finding a usefulness, learning new things, putting something into use, into force, into action to make better of the energy. That's the best way I can describe a lot of it. Not everybody is going to feel this full moon the same way. Some will deal with this in a harsh way. They will feel the judgment. They will feel frustration. Others are going to feel the timeliness because, again, Saturn rules time. It's time to pull away. It's time to say goodbye. It's time to let go. It's time to do something else. It's time to make a change. It's time to withdraw. It's time to level up. Because for some people, there is a level up. A lot of times full moons can have to do with completions. There are times that it can also have to do with like the responsible level up and feeling like we are doing something to rise to occasion. But I don't necessarily feel like everybody is going to be in the vibration of wanting to rise to the occasion. Some will. That's the truth. Others won't. Where you land, in a lot of ways, I don't necessarily feel like this is going to be the most emotional full moon, but I feel like there's going to be a mindset that shifts in productiveness, action, usefulness, how we move forward, what we do next, where we go next, what we need next. And that's a bigger part of the vibration. A lot of this speaks to gaining understanding to the next, not just the full moon itself and being some major completion. There's a pivot in this full moon's vibration. And again, I think a lot of us over the course of the weekend will really feel that shock wave again, like what I said in the week ahead forecast going into this week, and why we have to pivot the way that we're going to, why we have to make a shift, why we have to make an adaptation, why we have to make certain judgment calls, and seeing where that takes us from here. Okay. If you have never heard a new moon or full moon video, that is perfectly okay with me. I understand. I read everything from a whole house system. What does that mean? I don't care if your ascendant is at 2 degrees or 22 degrees, wherever your ascendant is in that zodiac sign, that entire zodiac sign is your first house, and every numerical house will be associated with the next zodiac sign. So with that being said, Aries and Aries risings. Oh, babies. Y'all might be making some very harsh judgments this week. You are dealing with a whole different sense of reality. A lot of the vibration can have to do with health, especially whenever it comes to either, again, the spine, the blood, head. If we're dealing with health stuff, a lot of you are going to have to make certain judgment calls based off of whether certain things are going to be able to continue, or we've had some type of reaction of some sort that has recently come through that is now making you aware that you need to make a judgment call. So we have Saturn turning retrograde in your first house immediately following the full moon. The full moon is in your 10th house of career goals for the future, public image, things that we want to aspire to, where our judgment calls are, where we're going next. Another thing the 10th house can be is fathers. Put a pin in that, because a lot of you, if we're dealing with the father thing, then we're going back to the elder concept. Based off of what can be happening with an elder, with an authority figure in career, there could be a shift in your routine, but you have to make the judgment call in a lot of ways to make this happen. Why do I say that? Saturn is turning retrograde in your first house during the full moon, and your chart ruler, Mars, is in your 6th house of health, how you care for yourself, how you care for other people, routines, pets, livestock. You might have to make certain responsible decisions around animals right now. You might have to be making certain decisions in regards to your health or the health of an elder. There can be things regarding work that impact you on a personal level, and it can create disruption, and it can create resentment in ways that you hadn't anticipated. Because again, Saturn and Neptune turning retrograde in your first house. And you might be making the decision in one way, shape, or form to no longer support, to no longer want to connect to certain people, to no longer believe certain people, to let some things go based off of the new things that are coming to light, also right before the full moon, but around the full moon. I'm just saying around, but really over the course of the last 2 weeks. And it can force some type of shift where we're going to have to make reaction and, again, additional judgment calls. The weight of responsibility around Saturn for you guys is unreal. And you can be a part of what is creating the shock wave that other people don't necessarily know how to handle. So let's be clear about that. Okay. I do like the full moon whenever it comes to the idea of the full moon in the 10th house of career, because what can start to really happen is decisions to really line some things out and put new things in perspective as to where you want to go next. But not everybody is in that mindset. And again, the 10th house can have to do with elders. It can have to do with fathers in particular, father figures, and having to take responsibility for them in ways that you didn't necessarily think that you would have to do. So be aware of that. In a lot of ways, there is that vibration around withdrawal, because with this Hermit card, there is that big vibration that we don't necessarily want to connect to people the same way. We need to take a step back. We need to look at something differently. We need to reevaluate. And with this Justice card, this can tell me that the reevaluation can be something that takes months to fully put some things back into balance. And when I get the Justice card, I also pay attention to, this is a Libra card. And as we get into August through October, we're going to have a lot of transits that go through Libra, which again is your 7th house of other people, partnerships, legal matters. And based off of what can be unfolding in this vibration, it can shift us to where we have different commitments over the course of the rest of the year. But that means speaking certain truths. Now we have the King of Swords. Speaking certain truths, holding certain people accountable, and pushing for changed behavior with this Death card. Now, the Death card, yes, it can literally mean death sometimes, but more often than not, it means breaking cycles and transforming something and doing something new. You are either looking at making the decision of breaking a cycle or holding someone else accountable with the goal that they're going to quit doing their shit and they're going to break a cycle. Whether it's you walking away and breaking a cycle or them with this Death card. The ability to see what's going to go afterwards and what's going to be held afterwards can be promising. We have this Page of Cups and we have the Ace of Cups. Now I want to add a layer to this. The Mercury retrograde is in your 5th house of love, luck, joy, romance, happiness, and children. This Page of Cups can have to do with children too. For some of you, you're going to no longer support the father figure around your kids. And some of the change can be what's best for your children. It might not be a work situation, but you might be making the decision that you can no longer support certain people and that it's going to create changes around the children over the weeks ahead, not just the full moon. The full moon can be the catalyst to where we make the decision, little Johnny doesn't go back to dad's house. No. You're staying here. You're safer here. I'm doing this for us. We're going to figure something out. And it's going to lead to legal matters over the course of the rest of the summer. But again, more so August, September, and October. So be aware of that. The judgment and that shift in support can also have to do with kids, given Mercury turning retrograde. Okay, moving along. Moving along, moving along, moving along. Now, for Taurus and Taurus risings. Okay, my loves. I'm not going to say you're the troublemakers, but I know you guys are in a very interesting funk right now. Saturn turning retrograde in your 12th house of the unknown, the unseen, and endings. Simultaneously, Venus and Uranus, Venus being one of your chart rulers, being in that second house of money, knowing that they did a conjunction before going into there, we can be in an energy where we feel like we want to start doing new things, create new ways of making money, new things in our career. We're trying to put something together in this whole different way. But we also know to do that, we also have to let go of the past. We have to let go of old ways of doing things, old frames of thinking. We also need to do things where we start to explore new forms of technology in some ways, new elements of training and education, given that this is a full moon in your ninth house. The sun, Jupiter in the third, this is ninth. We can also have some things that require education, training, or travel. There can be also things that kind of test your faith. The faith that you have in other people, the trust that you have in certain people, and whether they're going to do the right things or not. You guys can be very, very hopeful that things are just going to go well. But in other ways, as we go through the rest of the summer, there can be certain levels of exposure that show you certain things that you did not anticipate. We have hope for new things. We have hope for romantic connections. So the first two cards, we have the Queen of Cups and we have the Nine of Cups. We have hopes with the people that we pursue or that those that are pursuing us. We have hope for something to go well. We even have this 10 of Cups vibration to speak to that. We have hope for something to go well. However, if you would listen to your gut, you're going to realize some of the people that you're hopeful will act better, act right, do what's best for everybody. If you listen to your intuition is telling you whether something is going to be able to continue or not. And before you can actually really connect to where you want to go next into the future, where you want to go next in life, what you do next in your new cycle, there is an awareness, an intuitive awareness, given Saturn and Neptune in that 12th, that we have to let something go. Now I got the next two cards. We have the Judgment card and we have the Devil. Some of the people that we can be holding on to can be a very toxic situation. It can have us in very toxic patterns. And the big term that I was saying earlier is given Saturn turning retrograde in Aries, not even necessarily based off your 12th house, but just Aries by itself. There are certain judgment calls that need to be had right now as to whether we're going to continue supporting something or not, continue believing something or not. And either you are going to have to deal with the harsh judgment, Saturn turning retrograde in your 12th, or you're going to have to make some kind of discovery about the actual pattern being had so you can make certain decisions and judgments of your own. Now, the full moon itself right now, it's in the ninth house, higher education, higher learning, things that speak to faith and religion can go into this. That itself doesn't have to be heavy. However, I need to add a layer to that. Mercury is turning retrograde in your 4th house of home life, family, roots, ancestry, genetics. Some of what can be going on behind your back, some of what can be discovered, some of the things that can come to light in this vibration can force additional levels of exposure and focus in and around the home life, in and around the family. And where we thought we had a plan, where we thought we had some things figured out, the exposure, because there's going to be a lot of exposure in this Mercury retrograde, and I will explain it in a future episode, by the way, of the things that are going to come to light are going to, again, push a lot of toxic behavior forward. Now, that could be your behavior. That can be the behavior of family members. That can be the behavior of things that have been going on around the household. But the things that are meant to come to light in this upcoming Mercury retrograde is going to impact you guys, because Venus your chart ruler, is in Mercury's sign. It's in Gemini. So that new information, the new things that are going to come to light, that shift in focus, that shift in ideas, that shift that's going to happen can teach you something, but it can also make you very, very aware that some of the people that you are connected to, some of the people that you have trusted, including your own family, might not have the best in mind for you. And you need to be aware of that. It's not just this full moon. It's the vibration that this full moon activates over the course of the next month. For you guys, in a lot of ways, it's the next month. So be aware of that. Okay. Moving along. For Geminis and Gemini risings. Okay, my loves. Now, oh goodness, I dropped a card. Of course I did. That sucks. Okay. When it comes to this full moon, this is a full moon in your 8th house. 8th house has to do with death, debt, taxes, inheritance, financial matters. Some of you are dealing with a financial change on the horizon that is also connected to groups of people. Now, that can either be clients, that can be friends, that can be a friendship. There can be things in regards to a business partnership that is being impacted. There could be some kind of payout or payoff in this particular full moon, or there can be a financial cutoff in this full moon. Either you're getting cut off, no more extra money for you, or you're having to cut someone else off. No more extra money for the boyfriend, for the husband, for whoever. I don't know why I'm picking on the men right now. I think it's because your first card is the King of Cups, and I just went with masculine energy. So let's be fair. Okay. A lot of you are looking for inspiration as to what you're going to do next in career. And again, we're just at a glimpse of something with Uranus in your first house. Yes, Venus is there too, but Uranus is there, and Uranus is going to be there until November 7th. So we are looking for inspiration of the things that you're going to do moving forward. But a lot of you, whatever you do moving forward, is going to be more focused on what you want to achieve for yourself and not necessarily including other people. And that's going to be a harsh truth that a lot of people are not prepared for. They're not anticipating. They don't want to hear, because most people want just things to be easy all the time. But the fact of the matter is, that's not acceptable. That's not sustainable. That's not realistic. When you put things in a black and white scope, that realism is very, very necessary whenever it comes to the heart of the matter of what we're focused on. Now, immediately following this full moon, your chart ruler is going to go retrograde in the sign of Leo. That's the 3rd house. That's a communications house. That can have to do with siblings. That can have to do with short distance travel. But Mercury will be hosting Mars in the South Node in your 4th, Venus and Uranus in the 1st. Some of the unexpected things that can come to light that can create issues with mothers, matrons, family, in your actual home life, additional expenses that come through in and around the house that we're not anticipating. And it could be as simple as, like, we trusted somebody to come do something around the house and they didn't do what they said they were going to do. You've been waiting for your husband. I'm still going to beat up on the dudes because we have this King of Cups again, to do the things that he said he's going to do. And he still hasn't done it. You've reminded him every 6 months to go out and do the thing. Go out and clean the gutters, go out and mow the lawn, go out and do something. And there's something about the vibration that speaks to something not necessarily being done, being more focused on what makes them happy, which is versus what is necessary around. And it is going to lead to adaptation and change. That's one way of looking at it. The other thing can be there's going to be a disruption in the home life that is also going to have financial disruption too. But in this case, it can be more of a pivotal disruption. It can be allowing certain people to move in. We got this Queen of Cups following this King of Cups, with the idea that we're going to start trusting certain people, relying on other people, and doing things that are meant to make us happy. Now, whenever it comes to Gemini risings, I don't necessarily like the idea of a lot of Gemini risings getting into new relationships because there can be some harsh realities that start to unfold based off of this. And there can be little bits of fear that we don't want to necessarily talk about. We don't necessarily want to face certain truths that need to be dealt with that we are not necessarily ready to talk through. And this Nine of Swords speaks to that. And whenever it comes to certain truths that need to come to light, now we have the Queen of Swords following this. When it comes to the certain truths that need to be spoken, that need to come to light, that need to be worked through, that need to be identified, there can be some additional levels of frustration that are going to force the changes that are going to come through. And you need to be prepared for that. Some of this can have to do with the home life. Some of this can have to do with kids, Page of Cups. I'm not quick to say kids per se, but I am looking at the fact that Mars is in that fourth house of home life, and family. So it can be around kids, but it could also be around new love interest. And some of us might be starting to realize certain realities around certain love interest. And the problem that I have with Saturn and Neptune now in your 11th house of friends is we could be doing stuff with friends, supporting friends, or being blinded to the idea of what a person should be in our life and be confusing friends with lovers. And that can be a big part of the vibration for you guys, given Saturn and Neptune now in the 11th. Your last coin is the your last card is the Nine of Coins. I can't talk. I'm so sorry, guys. This Nine of Coins, I love this card. I always call this a boss bitch card. We have a focus in the things that we want to build for ourselves, but it is for ourselves, not necessarily building with another person. It's focused on building a connection, growing the crops, taking the crops to market, selling the crops, making our own money, creating something that is self-sustaining. And there's something about this vibration that speaks to trying to connect to something that can be self-sustaining and not reliant on another person. Some of you are going to be going into situations where certain people are relying on you, and it creates additional weight and heaviness that you weren't necessarily anticipating. Be aware of that. Others are going to have to make harsh decisions to not stay moving forward with certain people, or they're going to lose support from certain people. That is going to force you to take on different endeavors where you're doing things that are meant to be self-sustaining and for yourself and not necessarily for everybody else. Just be aware that moving too fast into something can be something you end up regretting later on. So be completely aware of that. Okay. Moving along. For Cancers and Cancer risings. Okay, my loves. This is a full moon in your 7th house of relationships, partnerships, legal matters. There can be things in regards to other people. There can be some type of contractual thing, some type of partnership. And this can even be partnerships with elders, with our dads, or this can be legal matters with father figures. Different ways that we can look at this. There's something that is starting to shift in regards to partnership. And for a lot of you, you're going to have to either commit to something long-term that you didn't necessarily want to commit to, or you're starting to recognize that you're going to lose support or remove support with a partner. And that's going to lead to some major financial tests and changes given the vibration of what we're moving into. Now, it's a full moon in your 7th house of relationships. Saturn is going to be turning retrograde in your 10th house of career, goals, and public image. Mercury is turning retrograde in your 2nd house of money, your assets, your stuff. And there can be things based off of trusting other people and them not following through with their word, and it ends up impacting you financially. You're supposed to have certain material, you paid for it, it hasn't showed. The thing is, for some of you, it's not gonna show. And then you're gonna realize really fast, you can't trust this person. You can't rely on this person. You can't have this supplier. You can't have this business partner, things along these lines. And that can make for very harsh situations and even setbacks whenever it comes to the things that we're doing in career right now. because in some ways it can even make you have to go back to the drawing board. If you have too much of something reliant on one particular person, it can really put you back into that vibration of, I can't work with this supplier, I can't have this employee, I can't have this going on. And there's a lot in your card that speaks to setbacks and things that have to come to a close, but in a lot of ways that's necessary right now. And it doesn't take away from the fact that you guys are in such a big alignment with where you're going next in the future. But again, some of the first people that we started to trust, a lot of people, we started trusting them in temporary energy back in the springtime. And now reality is setting in of like whether they were right or not, honest or not, capable or not. So we have the 10 of Wands. We're getting close to the end of a burden. We're ending certain partnerships. We're ending certain relationships. And it is going to result in some temporary setbacks in the moment and potentially financial setbacks, because we also have this 8 of Coins. Things that we're trying to work on, but it's like we're just running in circles and we're not getting everything as accomplished as we want. And we're going to have to do certain things to take a step back. Now we also have this 10 of Swords. You guys got both the 10 of Wands and 10 of Swords here. We're going to have to do some cutoffs. We're going to have to take some step back. We're going to have to make some big changes to get things back into alignment. Temperance card. The Temperance card is about having your head and heart in alignment. And for you to get things back on track, get yourself on track, keep everything going as well as you hoped, that means we're going to have some harsh cutoffs in the vibration. Some can be immediate through the full moon, in the full moon. Others can come through based off of what happens next in the Mercury retrograde. But the cutoffs are real. The need to re-strategize some things is very, very real. And once you can get those things accomplished, our last 2 cards, then things are going to start to fall back into place the way that we desired. 9 of Cups, Empress card. We're trying to achieve. We're trying to build something new. We're trying to push new things forward. We want to feel the benefits and have luck on our side the way that we are working with Jupiter right now. It's doing so much to help build our confidence and take us into new direction and put new attention onto us. But some of the people don't go with us. Some of the people that said they can help out, they didn't know what they were doing. And that means we're going to have to make an active choice in the weeks to come to cut some people off, let some things go in certain contracts, in certain negotiations, because of who we've been trying to do things with. It isn't going to last for the long term. That sucks. I know. But I still like the vibration for you, especially with Jupiter in the first, because it does do a lot to bring a lot of attention and the potential of creating your own luck based off of the decisions you continue to make. So do not fret just because something isn't going right in the moment. Okay. Moving along. We're going to get to Leos and Leo risings. Okay, my loves. This is a full moon in your 6th house. How you care for yourself, how you care for other people, how you are of service. Things around pets. Saturn turning retrograde in your 9th house. That's higher education, higher learning, institutions. There can be things around institutions. There can be things that are going to force you to make changes and have to redo some things that you were not anticipating based off of what's coming to light after this full moon. And the fact that Mercury is going to go retrograde in your 1st house. You, baby, you are going to have to make changes. You are going to have to scramble. You are going to have to change your opinion and change your plans and do something different that you were not anticipating. And a lot of you are going to be very, very blindsided by the way this is going to go, because the sun, your chart ruler, is in your 12th house. We need to understand. We need to find different use. We need to put certain things into order. We need to put certain things into motion and understand that just because something didn't go to plan doesn't mean that the change all the way through is going to be negative. In fact, in a lot of ways, it can be a lot more positive if we trust in the situation, if we trust in the agreement, if we trust in the potential. Now, in the immediate, we can have something again in regards to health. It can be your health, it can be the health of an elder, the health of kids. It can have to do with health. Now, whenever it comes to what we're dealing with in health, for some people, it's going to have a long-term effect. For other people, it is going to be something that forces you to sit still so that way you have time to think, to figure out what you're going to change in the Mercury retrograde, because the universe is really good at doing that. It's good at like giving you a bug, giving you a flu, giving you something that just makes you stop moving. I hate it personally. But given again, the sun, your chart ruler, is in your 12th house of the unknown, the unseen, and endings. And we have this Hermit card that has came out. In a lot of ways, you guys are going to get forced to sit still to reconcile with the fact that you're going to have to start to make changes, especially through the Mercury retrograde. Now, the thing about Mercury is he rules your 11th house of friends and networking, clients and colleagues. He also rules your 2nd house of money and your assets. And there can be setbacks financially, but there can also be things that allow for us to connect to people differently based off of making the changes that are about to come through, whether that's going into a new workplace, whether that's taking on a new position, whether that is having to temporarily slow down to adjust your sails a little bit. There is a vibration that speaks to you making some very necessary changes. And for a lot of you, it's going to be both financial and based off of the people you rely on and surround yourself with, given what Mercury rules in your chart. So after this Hermit card, we have the Ace of Cups. Happy with the new beginning. Happy in certain things. You know, our cup runneth over. Literally with this deck, you look like the cup running over. We also have the Ace of Coins. Again, Mars is in your 2nd house of money, your assets. So there can be a lot of financial shift as well as personal happiness shifts. I'm going to keep this going. We have the 9 of Cups. All of your cups after that Hermit card are very, very positive. It is better to be lucky than smart. That's the way I always describe this card. That luck can be on your side. By allowing new things to come through, there can be other benefits in this vibration as well. It's just a matter of proving points and overcoming adversity. And that might not all be directed in just one part of this lunation. This can be a big part of like that long-term vibration of the rest of the summer. Now, we also have this Queen of Coins and this Lovers card. We can be connecting to new people that it's going to benefit us professionally. It's going to benefit our personal happiness. It is going to benefit us in our goals. It is going to benefit us in ways that we can't initially see. But allowing new connections to come through. I look at the Lovers card. I don't always look at it as like lovers. I look at it as two entities coming together. By letting connections happen naturally and happen the way that they need to, it is going to allow for other things to unfold in the long run. But for the time being, a lot of you guys are going to be put into a place where you're going to have to like not poke the bear, withdraw, sit still, rely on that Hermit card to see the natural unfolding of certain things and stop trying to control. When your chart ruler is in the 12th house, you can't control anything. You can't. You have to accept what needs to be released, outgrown, and let go of. Come to terms with things and know that once we get into Leo season and once we get deeper into the summer transits, you will have more control based off of the things that will start to unfold. Okay. Moving along. Now, for Virgos and Virgo risings. Okay, my loves, this is a full moon in your 5th house of love and luck and joy and romance and happiness and children. There can be things going on with children. There can be things that bring back like certain childhood memories, tendencies from our childhood, childlike behavior, creative energy. Doesn't necessarily have to be bad. There can be things that kind of shift in regards to children because of children or because, again, of childlike behavior. Saturn, the ruler of this full moon, is in your 8th house, which is a financial house. Some of you are going to either no longer wish to support things with your kids, or you're no longer going to be able to afford certain things. And some of you are going to have to do some very harsh cutoffs because of this. Now, the other thing about Virgo risings right now is you guys have Mars in your 1st house. Your actions can create the cutoff. Your decisions can also force this cutoff, given the fact that Saturn is turning retrograde in Mars' sign while Mars is in your 1st house. There can be a lot of things that bring up fear and frustration and toxic behavior from the past that you need to start going over and working through, letting go of certain fears, accepting new truths and new ideas and new ways of doing things, so other things can unfold in the long run. Because again, remember, with Uranus now in Gemini, you guys are in a brand new cycle in regards to where you're going next in career, but you're getting a glimpse of something. It's the pinky toe dip of Uranus in the 10th. It is a pinky toe dip. And what new things can shockingly happen can force you to, again, face certain things that we didn't want to face. We have this 8 of Swords vibration. That new information, that news that comes through, the withdrawal in certain ways can put new realities into perspective in both positive and negative ways. Again, we can deal with things tied to our children or creative endeavors. For some people, the creative endeavor is likely to lose funding based off of this retrograde. No longer having certain elements of financial support. 8 of Swords, Knight of Swords. For others, you guys are going to recognize there's going to be certain people that you have to cut off. 10 of Swords, based off of their behavior, the Devil card. Now, why am I saying the cutoff part? Mercury is about to go retrograde in your 12th house of the unknown, the unseen, and endings. Mercury rules your 1st house. It is your chart ruler. You, your mind, your body, your identity. Mercury also rules your 10th house of career, goals, and public image. There are certain things that were put into alignment, that were put into play previously, that are either not working out. We're going to have to make some harsh decisions to no longer work with certain people, or that we're going to have to make large cutoffs in our behavior and in our mindset to make something happen the way that we want it. And you can be blindsided by how the energy goes. But please understand, the cutoff is necessary, because whenever Mercury ends its retrograde, hear me out on this next part. As soon as Mercury leaves shadow, we go into the new moons in Virgo. There's going to be 2. The second is the eclipse. The first one is not. But as soon as Mercury leaves shadow and makes all of the changes in the upcoming Mercury retrograde, there's going to be new things about you, your mind, your identity, your body, and what you want in career that are going to start to take shape. Now we have these next 2 cards. These are our last 2 cards with the Magician and the 10 of Cups. There's going to be new things that you wish to put into place to reach your goals and happiness. But for you to reach those goals, you're going to have to recognize what serves you best, who can make the best connections for you, and where you need to make adjustments. And there's going to be a lot of dial turning and adjustments to get a better tune and get better into alignment with the vibration and the frequency around you guys. Now, some of you, it's going to have to do with kids. What's going on with the kids, what's going on at home, what's been going on since childhood, it is going to create some level of vibration of needing to cut somebody off, especially a financial cutoff, or full moon in the 5th with Saturn and Neptune turning retrograde in the 8th. Someone that feels like a love connection might actually have to be cut off because of affairs. Secrets can come to the surface. Secrets can be blindsiding for you. And you need to be aware of that as well. That turn of Saturn in the 8th can also be a turn of certain secrets. So be aware of that too. Okay. Moving along. For Libras and Libra risings, this is a full moon in your fourth house. Mothers, matrons, home life, genetics. Oh, what's buried in the closet? What's going on with mom? How are you as a mother? Are you thinking about your mother? That's a big possibility. Some of you aren't necessarily having to deal with your home life. It's more focused on another person's home life. Now, why do I say that? This is a full moon in your fourth house, but Saturn is in your seventh house of relationships, partnerships, legal matters. What can be going on can be the impact of someone else's home life and someone else's situation. Some of you might be looking at the idea of whether you're going to introduce this new relationship to your family. Saturn again is in the seventh. Some of you might be getting introduced to a partner's family in this full moon. And if you do that, some of you will even have to travel because of it. And why do I say that? Because Venus, your chart ruler, is now in your ninth house of higher education, higher learning. Travel. Just travel. Oh, many of you are looking at the potential of new chapters and new beginnings. And I want you to recognize that those new beginnings, but I also want you to recognize that if you are starting to make new connections in relationship, that can then ruffle the feathers of the people you surround yourself with, because Mercury is about to go retrograde in your 11th house of friends, network, clients, colleagues. People that you have surrounded yourself with can start to make certain judgment calls and withdraw from you or show their true colors, and you have to cut them off based off of this upcoming Mercury retrograde. We like that other person. We like whatever is starting to unfold. And considering what we got going on here, we have the Eight of Wands. So everything that is like going on, a lot of this energy for you guys feels like all gas, no brakes, because Venus is going to be direct for a very, very long time. So you are forward-minded and forward-focused right now. But we also have this Lovers card of certain people coming together, certain things coming together, feeling a lot more accomplished, a lot more logical, a lot more connected, a lot more socialized and communicated with this Queen of Cups energy. And a lot of your cards speak very, very well. But what I'm mindful of is Mars in the 12th. When Mercury goes retrograde, hosting that Mars in the 12th, there is going to be the need to cut certain people off, or again, have certain things come to light with the people that you surround yourselves with, especially in a professional sense. You have this Eight of Coins on top of that. This is a work card. This is going to have to do with the things that we're trying to make happen. There's going to be some things that start to change in that work element or in our friend group that has to shift, has to change, so the rest of things can start to fall into place afterwards. And that puts us into this Page of Coins and the World card. Now, the Page of Coins can have to do with new financial gains, new financial endeavors, new practices. There's not a whole lot that speaks to the financial here, but Page of Coins can also have to do with the earth signs. It can also have to do with kids. Some of you might be looking at the idea of introducing your kids to your new partner and whether we're willing to do that or not. Either way, the World card being the last card of all of this, many of you are going into a whole new chapter, that whole new direction, the big part of our new normal. And for you to step more into your power of that new direction, you have to cut off some of the people that don't go with you to the next stage. The jealous people, the people that don't see eye to eye. You're going to have to address some behaviors whenever it comes to the workplace, just to make sure that the stories are straight and what's best for you is actually serving the way that it needs to. Now, based off of the judgment element of Saturn turning retrograde in the 7th, some of you are going to be dealing with the judgment of someone else. And that judgment, say it's a legal matter or a legal pursuit that we're dealing with, can then impact not only you, but the people that you work with, especially those that are working in either institution areas, so like prisons, churches, schools, hospitals, that the judgment or the ruling or the law Saturn in the seventh, impacts not only you, but everybody in your surroundings. And it's going to make, again, a big change in that workplace with Mercury going retrograde. And I would expect a lot of things to get discovered and come to light through that Mercury retrograde. And again, it can lead to certain people getting cut off. And you might not have any decision making in that level of cutoff. If they do a layoff, you certainly didn't make those decisions. Well, most of us, anyways. Okay, moving along. For Scorpios and Scorpio risings, this is a full moon in your third house. Short distance travel, siblings, education, communication, learning certain things, teaching certain things. There can be something in regards to how we teach, what we are teaching, that needs to be reviewed. It needs to be looked at. It needs to be adjusted. People in your surroundings are starting to show you something, tell you something, and let you know something. Simultaneously, Saturn is turning retrograde in the sixth house of health, how we care for ourselves, how we care for other people. And there can be certain things that come to light around our elders, especially the health of elders, especially those stubborn ones. Now, a lot of what can also be unfolding right now is you having to make certain decisions as to what you're going to be doing next in career and where certain plans in that public vibration of Mercury in the 10th, where certain parts of our decisions right now are going to force certain changes. And for a lot of us, those changes are going to be financial. Why do I say that? Immediately following this full moon, Mercury is going to go retrograde in that 10th house of career. Mercury rules 11th house of friends. Mercury rules that 8th house of death, debt, taxes, inheritance, loans, things along these lines. We could be signing off on a loan to continue the business, looking at the potential of a financial shift to get more things in order, to help certain people work through dynamics and get new things in order in their business, not necessarily your business directly. Some of you have just went into new businesses and you're going to have to make strategic changes in the policies and in the procedures, and not everybody is going to like your new ideas. That's okay. They don't have to like it, but a lot of this vibration speaks to a shift. And I would be really aware of the news that came to light the week of June 30th to July 6th, because that news that got pushed to the forefront, it gave you a clue in to where we're going to be making changes, but it gave you a clue. It did not show you everything. And some part of that initial clue in is not going to go to plan. Be aware of that, especially if it comes to career things and work things. Even more so if it has to do with elders, their health, and father figures. We got the Emperor card. That masculine, stubborn energy. So whenever I was saying those old stubborn elders, be aware of that too. Now, there is opportunities that are starting to unfold. We have this Two of Wands following the Emperor card. Based off of the people that you're surrounding yourself, we have the Two of Wands followed by the Three of Cups. And by connecting to new people and letting things kind of unfold naturally, a different path, a different opportunity is starting to unfold. And it is not the one that we thought would happen. And as we go through the Mercury retrograde, there's going to be the need to re-strategize, to really put something into focus, to really think some things through. And it's going to be forcing us to make decisions that at the time of the full moon, Two of Swords, we are not ready to face. We are not able to make the decision because we do not have all the information. Be aware of that. Information needs to come to light. Certain things needs to get revealed. Certain people need to play their hands. And this Two of Swords can really speak to, we have decisions to make, but we aren't completely prepared, Four of Swords, prepared for that decision quite yet. Based off the people you surround yourself with, based off the disruptions around other people. I'm going with Mars in the 11th right now. Friends, network, clients, and colleagues. You've gotten one version of events. You've gotten one version of the truth. You know, one version of the story. But after you start digging into the paperwork, after you start putting things into motion, after you start talking some things out, let certain things unfold naturally and reveal themselves, because it's going to impact the kind of decision that you need to make in the Mercury retrograde and who you're going to continue working with. Again, we have the Two of Swords with that Four of Swords. And a lot of you, whoever you've been connected with through June and July, by the time we get to August, we're not going to be connected to the same people. It's going to be, similar jobs, similar opportunities, similar focus, but not the same group of people. And for us to get to that level of achievement of what we're wanting to do next and where we're wanting to capitalize on this new way of earning with this Queen of Cups energy, we're going to have to make some unexpected changes over the course of the next month. And this full moon in Capricorn can tell us where it's time to shift our focus, where we need to go put more effort into learning something new, communicating something new, marketing something new, discussing something new. A lot of us are getting a perspective here, especially based off the people that we've been surrounding ourselves with. Okay, moving along. Okay. For Sagittarius and Sagittarius risings, this is a full moon in your second house of money, your assets, your stuff, what you're wanting to do. However, Mars is in your 10th house of career. And then this upcoming Mercury retrograde with Mars in the 10th. Some of you that have made recent decisions to do something different, you've taken a different position, you've done different things in the job, you're going to have harsh realities that come through based off of the changes that other people are forcing upon you. And the negative impact of this full moon with Saturn in your 5th is the shift in luck in regards to whether you've done the right things in partnership, and if you've made the right connections with people. And some of you are going to be forced to make very different connections over the course of the next few weeks following this full moon, specifically work ones, career ones. So be aware of that. Oh, the unexpected shift, the unexpected entry of someone new is going to create ripples for you in career. Now, Saturn again is in the 5th house during this full moon. And some of you might be dealing with some financial changes around the children, having to take on additional expenses around your children. It might not be a work thing. It might not be a creative endeavor. It might be more along the lines of understanding the expenses, investing some money, putting some extra money into our kids, paying some tuition, that type of thing. Be aware of that too. Some of you might be having to invest some money into schooling and testing because of the Mercury retrograde that's going to be in the 9th house. It can have to do with schooling and testing. And by getting the results of those things, it can put a better perspective as to what's going to be best for kids. Given again, Saturn is turning retrograde in the 5th. But a lot of this full moon kind of feels like I'm paying for the testing. I'm paying for this procedure. I'm paying for something to give me a fresh perspective and do something different. And there can be a big element around children. So we're going to start with this Page of Coins. But again, investing the money in our kids. So investing in their schooling, investing in the testing, investing in something with the idea that it's meant to shift our luck. The hope is that our luck will go well. But now that Saturn and Neptune will be retrograde, for some people, it's not going to go as well as we're hoping. There will be delays, and that's a hard thing to say, because sometimes whenever you put money into something immediately, it feels like a delay. It feels like shit is falling apart. We get this Tower card. So be aware of that. If we get some kind of delay immediately, some kind of expense that results in things kind of feeling like they fall apart, that can have to do with this Tower card vibration and that part of the turn. However, not everybody is dealing with the kid factor. Some of you are dealing with creative projects. Some of you are dealing with new partnerships. Some of you are looking at new options in work. And again, this Tower card can still come through for everybody. So I'm not dismissing the Tower card. I just want to keep continuing with the rest of the cards that are here. We have the Three of Coins, which this is a work card. And this, I always look at this like an oil field card with, you see the pumps, and it's a very Texas star type of thing. There's a lot of work that is being had. There's a lot of things that have been done. And there's more things that we need to start pursuing. And the disruption of Mars and Virgo right now is creating disruption. So later on, we can focus on it better, especially as we get into eclipse season and we allow the new things to come through in regards to where we're going next in our future, in regards to where we're going next in our career. Immediately following Mercury retrograde ending, when Mercury goes to leave shadow and go into new areas of the sky, that's when we start to go into the new moons in Virgo. Please note how I said that. New moons, plural. There's 2 of them. There's shifts coming in career. And for you to get an idea as to where you're going next in career, we need to have the fall apart. We need to have the setbacks. We need to allow for certain people to do whatever they're going to do, so you can do something that's going to speak more to your own personal happiness. We have the Queen of Cups. And for you to be able to start working with people that are going to be more focused on your success. So working with the right team, working with the right manager, working with the right surroundings, working with the right people with this Empress card. I would expect after this full moon for things to slow down and some temporary setbacks. And even for some of you, some really big fall apart things. I hate to say that. But where we land afterwards is going to be more in alignment for you based off of where we're going next and what we will be doing next. That can be a good thing. So if you have temporary setbacks that start to come through, they are temporary. Temporary, temporary, temporary. And please remember I said that. Okay, moving along. Moving along, we're going to get to the troublemakers, the star of our show, Capricorn and Capricorn risings. Oh, my loves. This is a full moon in your first house, your mind, your body, your identity, you, your ego, you. Saturn is turning retrograde in your 4th house of home, home life, family, roots, ancestry, mothers, matrons. There can be decisions that you make, full moon in the first, that means changing things in our home life. Saturn and Neptune turning retrograde in the 4th. There are decisions that you could be making that can be impacting mothers and matrons. Saturn and Neptune turning retrograde in the 4th. That can be impacting the family. A lot of the decision making in this vibration speaks to you guys and what you're doing and what you're wanting to do. And for a lot of you, you're making changes because there's hopefulness that things are going to be changing all the way around in the long run, especially financially. Some of you are going to have to walk away from certain situations, walk away from certain people so you can finally start new chapters of your life. Some of you are going to be walking away from certain places or things or the ideas of certain places and things. So you, again, can start to do new things in your home life, in the next chapter of your life. And there is going to be a very mixed bag of setback in the upcoming vibration. And in a lot of ways, you guys can be making the initial decisions to create said setbacks. We have this King of Swords. The thing about the King of Swords is this is making logical decisions. There are no facts. There are no figures. I'm sorry. There are no emotions. It's all facts, figures, receipts. Sorry. Whenever it comes to swords. So a lot of this energy speaks to knowledge impressing the decision, logic impressing the decision to let certain things fall away and in. Now, this is the Tower card. And normally the Tower card, I would say, means everything needs to fall apart. But hear me out. This is a full moon in your first house when your chart ruler is turning retrograde in the 4th. Some of you are going to force the decision that it is time to change something in our home life. It is time to change something with our family. It's time to sell the house. It's time to renovate the house. It's time to put in a mother-in-law suite so that way mom can move in. We don't want to put her in a nursing home. We want to be her to stay with us and her to be comfortable for the rest of her life. There is a belief, a clouding in our judgment. Be clear about that. That something is going to go a certain way. The only negative impact that I have about this full moon, if you are making certain decisions, is you guys can be making unclear decisions given Neptune's vibration conjunct that Saturn. And you can be very blinded by the potential and not by the actual endeavor that is going on. And that in the long run can lead to bigger fall aparts and even more tied to like financial hardship, because we have this 5 of Coins. This is a bankrupt card. This is a desolate card. There can be financial loss or setbacks that also impact this home life change, or big or you have to put extra money out there to be able to even make some things happen in that home life area. And it's money that you don't have. Now, why do I say that part in particular? Mercury is going to turn retrograde in your 8th house, which is a financial house. Death, debt, taxes, inheritance, shared assets, shared resources. There's something about the shared area that can also speak to loans and mortgages, things along these lines, insurance payments that are also impacting the household. But what you could have is there could be something that you decide to do that either you can't afford or that is going to create a financial setback that you can't initially see because, again, of Neptune's vibration. And this 5 of Coins speaks to that. Now, that's the negative. If we have financial setbacks, I really feel like in a lot of ways it's going to be temporary because Mercury is going to be retrograde just for a few weeks. Then he's going to go direct again. And whatever happens, whatever we start changing in the retrograde is going to lead to eclipse season and what we start to do there. And that next part of the vibration. And for a lot of you, you need the jolt to the system for you to be able to recognize and awaken to, star card, where you're going next in this new part of your new normal, in your new chapter, in your new trajectory of hope, where you're going next in life, where you're landing next. This world card means I have this experience already. I have learned from all of the experiences, and now I'm ready to take my knowledge into something new, building it with someone new. And there can be a lot of that speaks to having certain luck elements on your side with the 9 of Cups. And not everybody's going to be dealing with financial setback in the Mercury retrograde, because this Mercury retrograde can be actually very strategic for some people, necessary adjustments, necessary needs, and necessary changes. And luck can fall on your side in this particular Mercury retrograde if we're putting things into order in regards to that new chapter in work. If we're just focused on doing something for selfish needs, I feel like we can lean a lot more towards this Tower card. But for other people, given these last 3 cards in the vibration, we have the Star card, we have the World card, and we have the 9 of Cups. It is better to be lucky than smart, and letting things unfold naturally can give you layers and levels of just an epiphany, an awakening, a breakthrough of where the potential of new things are going to be. And be aware of that. Okay. Moving along. We're going to get to Aquarius and Aquarius risings. This is a full moon in your 12th house of the unknown, the unseen, endings, escape, wanting to run away, not wanting to be involved with everybody, not wanting to be connected to certain people. And a lot of you are starting to rethink certain commitments, certain connections, certain partnerships. Why do I say that? Mercury is going to go retrograde in your 7th house of relationships. Mercury rules your 8th house, which is a financial house, death, debt, taxes, inheritance, payouts, insurance, mortgages, money that's tied to other people, credit, things along these lines. But it also rules your 5th house of love, luck, joy, romance, happiness, and children. There is either going to be something regarding legal matters and your children that's going to pop up, or there's going to be some of you that is rethinking love connections. And we're going to have certain insecurities that find ways of just kind of coming up to the surface through this full moon, letting you know what you need to release, what you need to let go of that does not serve you. And that means having some very harsh conversations. Now, for some of you, that harsh conversation is going to be with your siblings, because Saturn is turning retrograde in your 3rd house of siblings. It's also a travel house. It's short distance communication. But a lot of this vibration speaks to recognizing what we are going to hold on to and what we need to let go of. Some of you will be blindsided in this full moon based off of the behaviors of other people. And that behavior, again, can lead to you rethinking whether you're going to continue working with someone or not. So be aware that there's a shift coming in time. And some of the people that you've been friends with, that you've been connected to, that you've been in relationship with, that you've been in partnership with, very quickly, it's going to feel like time is going to shift. And the way that you see people, King of Coins, the way that people see you is going to change. So your view of them is going to change, vice versa. In a lot of ways, their view of you is going to change based off of the things that you're trying to put into order for yourself, or that you have already put into your order for yourself, King of Coin, followed by this Wheel of Fortune. Time is turning, time is reaching a new element. And there's going to be new conversations that not everybody is going to be prepared to have. Now, again, Mercury is going to turn retrograde in your 7th house of relationships, partnerships, legal matters. And we do have this Lovers card. But I will be honest, this Lovers card actually came out in reverse. And I keep this particular deck, I keep it upright. So that way, if a card comes out in reverse, then it's supposed to. So with that being said, a lot of you are going to be rethinking certain commitments and certain connections that you normally would not rethink. You normally would put more effort into building them, but because of whatever has come through, whatever has been said, it is going to push a wedge. And the best thing I can say to you, if you feel that need to have a wedge, if you feel that need to separate, but you are not mentally ready to separate because your ego is too involved, then you need to take healthy steps back and do reflection as to what you need to work on it as an individual before you try to pursue or push anything else. Knight of Wands. Whatever is about to happen, a lot of you are going to be having certain conversations with certain people that can lead to very hot-headed communication with this Knight of Wands. It's a fiery energy. Saturn is turning retrograde in Mars' sign. That is a fire sign. It can be a very reactive thing, especially whenever it comes to our kids. Uranus, your other chart ruler, is now in your 5th house of children. So there can be legal matters around the kids that go into a turn over the course of the rest of the summer, or there can be a turn in regards to partnerships based off of either not seeing eye to eye with certain romantic connections, or something comes to light that you are blindsided for that you are not necessarily prepared for. 4 of Swords. If you are not prepared to have the hard conversations, then you need to take a step back to get prepared, to do the reflection, to do the inner work, so you can come back together after the Mercury retrograde and put more effort into what you need to do moving forward. If you ask for a healthy connection to step back from someone and they do not listen, their lack of respect for your boundaries is also a response. It is also an answer, and it is also letting you know what you need to do next. Be aware of that. Actions are louder than words. And when people make active steps to not respect boundaries, that is an action that we must recognize and make decisions around. Okay. Act accordingly. Moving along. Last but not least, Pisces risings. Oh, my loves. This is a full moon in your 11th house of friends and network and clients and colleagues. Saturn is turning retrograde in your 2nd house of money. There can be something new that is going on in the workplace that is changing the way that you are connecting with certain people in your surroundings, that is going to create issues potentially in money. There can also be certain things that come to light that feels like budget cuts. Given again, Saturn is turning retrograde in your 2nd house of money. Now, your chart rulers, Neptune, one of them, is in a conjunction to that Saturn. And we might have high hopes that certain things are going to go a certain way. People in our surroundings could have literally told us, oh yeah, you just have to make one or two changes and everything's going to work out great. You just got to commit to this license. You just got to commit to this test. You got to do this one extra thing and everything's going to go well. And that could be a potential. But for some of you, once you make this commitment, once we land on the other side, we're not going to necessarily have everything the way that we're anticipating. One thing got promised, another result gets delivered. And some of the people that you have connected to, some of the people that you trust, we should not be trusting them the way that we think that we should. Now, your other chart ruler, Jupiter, is in your 5th house of love, luck, joy, romance, happiness, and children. And some of you are going to have some very hard truths spoken with certain people that you have romantic connections with, letting you know whether you're going to continue with them or not. Now, I wouldn't have normally said that. Your cards speak to something. Mars is in your 7th house of relationships, partnerships, legal matters, that other side. And your top 2 cards that came through were the 10 of Swords and the 8 of Cups. There is either going to be something in a business sense, something in a friendship sense, something in regards to recognizing that somebody should never have been more than the friend, situationship situations that we're going to have to walk away from and cut off completely. 10 of Swords, 8 of Cups. 8 of Cups, we walk away from things that no longer give us fulfillment. 10 of Swords, it's done. It needs to be done. Now, a lot of you are going to struggle with the needs to be done thing because Mercury going retrograde, we're not going to necessarily be feeling like we're thinking everything clearly. We're not necessarily wanting to really rely on that quite yet. And the markers can be shown right now that it's time to cut somebody off, but you guys might not actually do the full cutoff until we get more into August. And now I'm going off the astrology when I say that part, but some will do it immediately. Some of you might be in a situation where you're getting cut off, especially financially, whenever it comes to things like tied to layoffs or something along these lines. And that again is speaking to Saturn and Neptune turning retrograde in that 2nd house of money. But somebody in your surroundings, 3 of Wands, that's the next card, is either pushing for that change or it is revealing that element of truth that you need that makes for the awareness as to why this cutoff is necessary. Not all of you are going to be quick to make this judgment call. Not all of you are going to be ready to just cut somebody off. I know that you're slow to do it sometimes, but you're also needing to recognize the patterns of no longer being a doormat. And Neptune being in your 2nd house, Neptune being in Aries in particular, we're not going to be willing to settle for things in the softer way, the way that we were before. Neptune's going to want more power, and he'll be pushing for more things to fall into place too. So be aware of that. The things that start getting revealed with the people around you. Okay. 2 of Coins speaks to a decision, but this decision-making card usually speaks to either 2 timelines. It speaks to Libra transits or it speaks to eclipse season. That's what I love about this particular card. It has timelines tied to it. The Libra transits are going to start in August. They're going to last through November. Simultaneously, all of September is eclipse season. So the things that can start to reveal themselves, the actions and the situations going on with other people can also be something that gives us an idea of the timeline as to, again, when we're going to be willing to make more decisions and when we're willing to do more things that makes us happy and speaks to our heart's content. Knight of Cups. And simultaneously, we're going to end this with the 10 of Coins. We want the things that bring us happiness. We want good partnership. We want good things to fall into place. We want that financial support. We want that hustle. We want those things to build up in the way that they're supposed to. But for us to get to our goals and achieve our perfect 10, we can't hold on to the people that are the maybes and the what ifs. And a lot of you know exactly what I'm talking to. Well, what if he behaves? What if she starts treating me better? What if she comes back? What if they finally figure out their stuff? What if I still love them? Are you in love or are you infatuated? Because the other side if they loved you the way that you loved them, they would make all of the efforts for connection. And if they're not right now, the energy is telling you it is time to cut off the people that it should never have been anything more than a friend. That's a hard reality to accept. But for you to reach your perfect 10 of partnership and legacy and family and hope and love and happiness and joy, that means cutting off the people that don't deserve your energy. Mull over that for a while. Okay. Okay. I love and appreciate every single one of you. Thank you for your patience. I will get this out as soon as possible. Obviously, most people aren't even going to see this part. Hit me up with questions. Hit me up with concerns. I will talk to everybody very, very soon. Subscribe.